What's up, guys? It's your favorite QB coach, and welcome to part 2 of Ryo Ishikawa's swing analysis. Let's go do this thing. Cool. Now from here is where we're going to really start seeing some issues, okay? So let's look at a few things. Let's draw a line on the head, and then we're also going to watch club shot pitch, right? So as he starts going down into the golf ball, notice how his head starts backing away from this line. Watch it ever so slightly. Cool, and we're going to stop it there. So what he's basically doing now is he can subconsciously feel this, that he's maybe a little bit too much out on his toes. So when you swing fast, you want to try to balance yourself. So athletes, when they try to balance themselves, naturally get back to their pressure points to where they're balanced, right? So he was a little bit on his toes. So when he put a torque in the opposite direction, he started to rotate and started to kind of bump forward. He fell back onto the balls of his feet, and he basically got his pressure points pretty much lined up. Now, while he's doing that, most players who fall backwards, what they're doing is dropping this right shoulder possibly into right side lateral bend, or starting to get into that right side lateral bend a little bit too early, right? That's not the downswing initiating move that we want. Now, because of that, I would argue that his club shot pitch is getting steep because of that reason. So let's take a look. So notice how he's pointing halfway in between the ball line and his toe line, right? So that's a very steep club shaft pitch. Now, whenever your club shaft is more perpendicular, you have one of two things you can do. Most players, most amateurs, are going to spin out and fall backwards and cut across the ball. Or the better players are going to continuously bump forward, extend early, and then basically back away from the golf ball and throw their arms out towards the ball. That's what the better players do, right? So this is basically kind of what we're going to see Ryo do here in a little bit. So let's kind of check it out. So I'm going to erase this line. So as we get him into that position 6 position, notice how his head is backing even further away from this line. Let's also take a look at the club shaft pitch. Let's see how it's basically above the forearm on this point. Is running through the bicep. That's a little steep for my liking. You can be there if you're a little bit more open and a little bit more rotational, but Ryo is not. He's not rotating as much as maybe, let's say, a Dustin Johnson or like a Ryan Palmer. Something Palmer? You guys hopefully know who I'm talking about. The guy hits a cut. Guys who basically hit a cut with like a closed face, they're a little bit more open than Ryo's at this point, right? Which is a club shot pitch is matching maybe someone that's more so trying to hit a cut, but we'll get into why he hits a draw here in a sec. Now from here, we can start seeing that the club head is coming in and entering from the left quadrant pretty significantly. So I would argue he's swinging a pretty far into out path for a wedge. He might even be like +4 with a wedge, which is quite a bit. We can also see that his head is backed away almost all the way from this line. Right now there's a little space here, so his body's going from this position and it's starting to extend. His butt's starting to suck underneath him, and he's starting to get a little mini early extension. He's humping the goat here, guys, just subtly, right? Not as much as most players do. That's why he's professional, but he is humping the goat ever so slightly. Now from here, we can see that he takes a nice little divot, so it looks good on camera, but that also means that he probably has right around 6 degrees, like a -6 degree angle attack. And he's also coming in pretty far from the right, so his path's got to be pretty far right. If you guys haven't heard what D-plane is yet, go look it up. The more you typically hit down on it, so the more you hit down on it, the path is going to shift more to the right than it would if you hadn't have hit down on it as much, right? So if you hit down on 6 degrees, your path is going to be more to the right than it would if you would have had the same swing and hit down on it 2 degrees, okay? That's kind of how it works out. So anyways, he has a fairly large in to out path. We can really start seeing the early extension look here. Notice how his lumbar spine is pretty much almost all the way out of lordosis, and it's got a little bit more of a straighter back line. He's going into a lot of right side lateral bend because he's trying to quote unquote maintain his spine angle. And basically what he's doing, whenever you kind of strain out that lumbar spine and you still try to rotate and have right side lateral bend, those spine facets right here aren't fully attached. So they're not designed for the mid-spine to rotate from this position. So you're putting a lot of strain right here on the lumbar spine to do that. And that's why you see these guys kind of jump a little bit and then kind of compress down and then they're able to rotate. That's kind of the stall flip. That's why you typically see him do that. This is pretty much what Ryo's doing, just not in his exaggerated form. Cool. So as he comes through, we can see that the club shaft is exiting basically above the shoulder line or on the shoulder line, which is a great telltale sign of someone who's fighting a hook. Most players who hit more of a neutral flight are going to be exiting a little bit lower and left. We also see his head is still kind of looking down this fashion, so he hasn't let his head release, which is another telltale sign of someone who hits a hook. And then basically right around here releases through and he gets to a nice little beautiful finish, so that's why everyone's like, oh my god, he has such a great golf swing, right? Which I would agree, he used to have a great golf swing, but Here's the thing, guys. So here's kind of the second part. Why can't we, or why haven't we heard of him? Well, you guys just kind of got a little micro analysis of why. Now the reason why is because he's trying to pick up some extra yards. So basically what Ryo was, he was a really good accurate player, just great putter, just a great golfer in general, but he only averaged probably around 289 to 290 off the tee. That's total, not carry, guys. That's total, right? So that's pretty short for a PGA Tour player. Now what he did instead was he went to, I believe, a Japanese instructor who taught long drivers, and he wanted to get some extra distance, right? So they could have possibly have taught him a few things here and there that I don't quite really believe in. Alright guys, so that is the end of part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, smash that like button, leave a comment, let me know how we're doing, and please hit that red subscribe button. Alright guys, have a good one and see you guys later.